Do you know what really sets apart a woman who has a man fully devoted to her from the one he keeps putting on hold? It's not what most people think. It's not about how attractive you are. It's not about how accomplished you've become. It's not about how perfectly you treat him or how available you make yourself. It's something much simpler, something that many women completely overlook. If you've ever found yourself wondering where you stand with someone, doubting whether you're his top choice or just another contact in his phone, or felt that sick feeling in your stomach when his attention seems to fade at any moment, this will completely change your perspective, because what I'm about to share goes against almost everything you've been taught about capturing a man's heart. After observing countless relationships and really paying attention to what makes men pick one woman over all others, I discovered something that surprised me. The women who become impossible to replace, who never second-guess their place in his life, aren't following the usual advice. In fact, they notice something most women completely miss, and the difference is so obvious that once you understand it, you'll never question your position again. You'll finally know why some women become the center of his world, while others stay unsure forever, always scrambling for scraps of his attention. The reality is, there are 4 clear signs that show exactly how he sees you. And if you notice even one of them, you're not a priority, you're just an option. Now, before you assume this is another guide telling you to play games or manipulate him, stop for a moment. What I've discovered about men who view you as optional goes far deeper than simple tactics. Imagine this. You're seeing someone who seems genuinely interested. The conversations are effortless. There's chemistry. And when you're together, everything feels right. But then things shift. His texts become irregular. He disappears for days and then pops back up, acting like nothing happened. You find yourself reading his messages over and over, trying to figure out what went wrong. Here's what no one tells you. When a man sees you as just an option, his communication is based on convenience for him, not on staying connected with you. Think about how you communicate with people who truly matter to you. Your best friends, your family, the colleagues you respect. There's a natural rhythm there, right? You don't vanish for 3 days and then show up expecting everything to be fine. You don't leave important messages waiting while deciding if you feel like replying. But when someone is optional, when they're nice to have around but not essential, your communication reflects that. You reach out when it's easy or when you're bored. You respond when it suits your mood. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's 29, smart, accomplished, and met Marcus through mutual friends. Their first few dates were incredible. He texted her every morning, called at night, and planned days in advance. Sarah felt special, chosen, like she was his priority. But slowly, things started to shift. Marcus would go quiet for 2 days, then send a casual, "Hey, how's your week going?" as if the silence were normal. He'd respond to her messages hours later with short replies, yet she'd see him active on social media. When she tried to make plans, he'd be vague. "Let's see how the week goes," or "I'll let you know closer to the weekend." Sarah found herself walking on eggshells, carefully crafting messages to seem cool and casual. She timed her replies, making sure she didn't seem too eager. She was managing his opinion of her instead of simply being herself. Here's the painful truth. Marcus wasn't treating her this way because he was busy or stressed or dealing with personal issues. He treated her this way because she had become optional in his mind. She was someone he could take or leave, someone whose feelings he didn't need to prioritize because she had shown she would accept inconsistent behavior. When a man truly values you, when you're not just an option but a priority, his communication reflects that immediately. He doesn't leave you guessing about his interest. He doesn't create confusion where clarity should exist. He doesn't make you feel like you're competing for attention. But here's what's really happening behind the scenes. When you accept hot and cold behavior, when you make excuses for his disappearing acts, When you tell yourself he's just busy or that's just who he is, you're teaching him that your time and feelings aren't important enough to deserve consistency. You want to know the difference between a genuinely busy man and one who sees you as optional. A busy man shares his schedule. He says, "I'm tied up with this project until Thursday, but I want to call you Friday night." A man who values you creates clarity, not confusion. A man who sees you as optional creates confusion because it keeps you available. When you're unsure where you stand, you remain accessible. When you're uncertain about his feelings, you work harder for his attention. When his communication is inconsistent, you become grateful for whatever attention he gives. Think about your own behavior. When someone truly matters to you, do you leave them hanging? Do you vanish without a word? Do you respond with minimal effort while giving your full attention to less important conversations? The answer is no, because when someone is important to you, you treat their communication as important. You respond thoughtfully and with care. You don't make them guess about your interest or availability. This isn't about being clingy or demanding constant contact. It's about recognizing that steady, respectful communication is the foundation of any real connection. When that foundation is shaky, everything built on it becomes unstable. Here's the truth that changes everything. A man who values you doesn't make you work to figure out his interest through his texting patterns. He shows his interest clearly through consistent, respectful, and engaging communication. If you find yourself analyzing how quickly he responds, making excuses for his silence, or feeling thankful for simple courtesies, it's a clear sign that he doesn't see you as a priority. The third way to tell you're just an option is perhaps the most subtle, yet the most revealing. It's how he handles emotional closeness. When a man treats you as one of many possibilities, he carefully controls how much of himself he reveals. It's not necessarily that he's hiding something terrible. It's because emotional vulnerability creates connection, and connection makes it difficult to keep someone as just an option. Imagine this scenario. You've been seeing someone for a few months. The physical chemistry is obvious, the conversations are enjoyable, and the time you spend together is fun, but something feels guarded. When conversations start to get deeper, he effortlessly changes the topic. When you open up about something personal, he responds politely, but doesn't share anything personal in return. You know his job, his friends, his hobbies, but you don't truly know him. Here's what's really happening underneath the surface. He's maintaining emotional distance because closeness leads to attachment, and attachment makes it impossible to keep you as just one choice among many. Let me give you an example. Maria met Alex on a dating app, and their connection seemed promising. They shared great chemistry, liked similar things, and their dates were always enjoyable. But Maria noticed something off. Alex would tell funny stories about his day, share opinions about movies and politics, and even mention his family, but all on the surface level. When Maria opened up about her struggles with anxiety, he was supportive but didn't reveal any of his own challenges. When she talked about her future dreams, he listened carefully but stayed vague about his own goals. And when she tried to explore what made him tick, his fears, his motivations, his deeper thoughts, she felt like she was trying to connect with someone wearing an invisible emotional shield. Here's what many women miss. A man who sees you as just an option will give you his time, attention, and even physical intimacy, but he won't give you access to his inner world. Once you reach that inner world, once you understand what drives him, what scares him, what he dreams about quietly, you stop being optional. You become essential. Think about your closest relationships. The people who matter most have seen your full range of emotions. They've witnessed your struggles, celebrated your wins, and understood your fears. That depth didn't happen overnight. It grew naturally as connection deepened over time. When a man keeps you emotionally compartmentalized, sharing his schedule but not his struggles, his opinions but not his insecurities, his humor but not his pain, he's keeping the necessary distance to maintain your optional status. But here's something interesting about men and emotional connection. Most men crave deep emotional closeness just as much as women. They want to be truly seen, understood, and accepted for who they are. But they're also aware that emotional vulnerability leads to attachment. So if they're unsure about someone or want to keep their options open, they unconsciously build emotional walls. The difference is stark. The man who sees you as optional protects his emotional world. The man who sees you as essential invites you in. Ask yourself, does he share his struggles as well as his successes? Do you understand his fears alongside his ambitions? Can you sense his emotional depth? Or does he feel like a stranger wearing a friendly mask? Does he show curiosity about your inner world, or does he keep conversations safe and surface level? If it feels like you're only seeing his public persona, you're likely dealing with someone who's compartmentalizing, and compartmentalization blocks real connection. Now, consider the fourth and perhaps most obvious sign, the imbalance in emotional and practical effort in your relationship. When a man views you as just an option, he gets comfortable letting you carry the weight of keeping the connection alive. You become the one initiating most conversations, suggesting plans, remembering important dates, and keeping things moving forward. Meanwhile, he appears when it's convenient and puts in just enough effort to keep you interested. This pattern often goes unnoticed at first. Many women only recognize it when they step back and honestly assess who's really driving the relationship. Let me share Carmen's experience. She's 28, a project manager used to taking charge and making things happen in her professional life. When she met Dylan, she was drawn to his laid-back personality, a nice contrast to her high-energy work environment. But after 3 months of dating, Carmen had a wake-up moment. She had started around 80% of their text conversations. She suggested most of their date ideas. She initiated discussions about the future of their relationship. She remembered his important work events and sent supportive messages. She picked up his favorite coffee when he mentioned being tired. Essentially, she was doing all the emotional work while he simply responded. What Carmen realized was eye-opening. Dylan wasn't truly laid back. He was comfortable being lazy about their connection because she had made it easy for him. She had taken on the role of pursuing him, which meant he never had to pursue her. And when a man doesn't have to pursue you, when everything is handed to him through your effort, you become convenient rather than valuable. From a psychological standpoint, consider this. We naturally value the things we work for. Anything that requires effort, our time, energy, investment, and attention is what we appreciate most. Conversely, if something comes easily, we take it for granted. This is human nature, not a flaw specific to men. If someone always initiates contact, you stop initiating. If someone always plans activities, you stop planning. If someone always remembers important details, you stop remembering. The person putting in all the effort inadvertently trains the other to be passive. The deeper issue is that when you consistently invest more than he does, you're not building a true partnership. You're creating a dependency. He becomes reliant on your effort to maintain the connection, and you become dependent on his positive responses to feel valued. Now, picture what balance looks like. When Sophia met Miguel, their early interactions had a natural rhythm. Conversations flowed evenly, both shared personal stories, and each contributed to making plans. Both were curious about each other's inner worlds, and both put effort into keeping the connection alive. This created a sense of mutual investment, where vulnerability and emotional closeness were reciprocated. That's the difference between someone who sees you as optional and someone who sees you as essential. He would text her on Monday morning to ask about her weekend. She would reply on Wednesday with a suggestion for a restaurant she had heard about. He would call her Friday evening to finalize plans for the weekend. She would send him an article she thought he might enjoy. He would remember she had an important meeting and check in afterward. If you honestly reflect on these patterns and see that the answers almost always point to you doing the chasing, you're not in a mutual relationship. You're in a situation where you are pursuing someone who allows himself to be pursued. Here's the truth that can completely change your perspective. You are not auditioning for the role of being someone's top priority. You don't earn that position through flawless behavior, constant availability, or extraordinary treatment of someone who treats you as optional. When a man truly values you, when you are not just an option but an irreplaceable part of his life, you feel it in every interaction. His communication is steady because connecting with you matters to him. His planning is thoughtful because spending time with you is important to him. His emotional walls come down because forming a connection with you is his goal, not his fear. His investment mirrors yours because he is as committed to building something meaningful as you are. Women who never doubt their place in a man's life aren't more beautiful, more accomplished, or more perfect than you. They simply refuse to accept optional treatment. They notice the signs of inconsistency and respond with clarity rather than trying to manipulate or tolerate. When someone communicates in a hot and cold manner, they don't make excuses or try harder to earn consistent attention. They understand that steady communication is a basic expectation for any real connection, and they don't settle for less. When someone's planning is last minute or careless, they don't convince themselves that spontaneity is romantic. They know that intentional planning reflects genuine interest, and they don't allow themselves to be treated as an afterthought. When someone keeps emotional distance, they don't overextend themselves to break down walls. They understand that emotional closeness should grow naturally in healthy relationships, and they don't chase emotionally unavailable people. When someone creates imbalanced investment, they don't increase their efforts to compensate. They step back and make space for mutual investment, understanding that one-sided relationships aren't relationships at all. This isn't about playing games or trying to control outcomes. It's about recognizing your own worth and refusing to accept treatment that doesn't reflect it. Think about the relationships in your life where you've never questioned your importance, your closest friendships, your family bonds, your professional connections, where you feel respected and appreciated. In these relationships, you don't have to wonder where you stand because it's clear. You don't analyze responses because they are consistently warm and engaging. You don't question investment because it's mutual. The same clarity can exist in romantic connections. When someone sees you as essential rather than optional, that certainty shows up in every interaction. The choice is yours. You can keep accepting optional treatment, hoping it eventually becomes priority treatment, or you can recognize that your value isn't determined by whether someone else sees it. When you genuinely understand your worth, when you stop trying to prove your value and start expecting others to naturally recognize it, everything changes. You stop tolerating hot and cold communication because you know you deserve reliability. You stop accepting careless or low-effort planning because you know you deserve intentionality. You stop tolerating emotional distance because you know you deserve closeness. You stop allowing investment imbalances because you know you deserve reciprocity. And here's what's beautiful about this shift. The right person, the one meant to be in your life, will meet these standards naturally. You won't have to teach them how to value you, how to make you a priority, or how to treat you with consistency and care. They will do these things automatically because that is how they treat people who matter to them. You are not just an option. You never were. You are someone worthy of priority, consistent communication, intentional planning, emotional closeness, and mutual investment. The moment you truly believe this, the moment you stop accepting anything less, is the moment everything transforms. Because when you know your worth, you don't have to convince anyone of it. You simply wait for someone wise enough to see it on their own. When someone's planning is last minute and low effort, they don't fool themselves into thinking spontaneity is romance. They understand that careful planning shows genuine interest, and they refuse to be treated like an afterthought. And here's what's truly beautiful. The right person, the one meant for your life, will naturally meet these standards. You won't have to teach them how to value you or prioritize you. They will act with consistency and care because that's how they treat people who are important to them. You are not just an option. You never were. You are someone worth prioritizing, someone worthy of steady communication, thoughtful planning, emotional closeness, and mutual investment. The moment you fully embrace this truth and stop accepting anything less is the moment everything changes. Because when you know your value, you don't have to persuade anyone. You simply wait for someone capable of recognizing it naturally.